Preparing to live stream this meeting. Okay, we're probably live now. It's saying we're live, so that's all good. Yes, meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Actually, should I monitor it? Preparing to. We're back on. Right. Let's mute that.
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. This is a real test of my new laptop to see if this, if I need to run this on a separate system or not. If I don't need to run this on a separate system, then we're all good.
Did you buy that new laptop then?
So I bought another version of.
Hello YouTube, by the way. This
Hello
is probably
YouTube.
really boring.
I bought another version of my existing laptop, but it was slightly quicker, had more memory, and
I need a new laptop. Mine's slowly dying.
But the reason I've got this is because the last one was I dropped it and broke all the hinges and stuff, and every time I open it, it sounded like my back first thing in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah, and so I got this one, but it's going off insurance because the lovely person I was working for has agreed to allow me to claim off their insurance because it happened on their premises while I was working for them. So that's all good. So the lovely people at my local IT firm are going to process the thing for me, the claim and everything. It's all above board, all legal and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they're just gonna.
Yeah, you are live on YouTube, so
Yeah, exactly.
please do
They
not
are
swear.
going-
Fuck.
Yeah. I'm just gonna hide my self view because I hate looking at myself.
No, I don't mind looking at myself.
No, I hate it. I'm just making sure that it doesn't disappear on the live stream. I don't think it does, but we'll
No,
find
it doesn't.
out. Good. Cool. Right. Should we start a podcast?
Should we start a podcast?
Is there anything we need to discuss before we start? Just do our dirty laundry in public.
I've got a few things, but hang on.
You're starting.
I'm starting.
the-
Oh, Jesus, I bet. Yeah.
No, as in on the backwards thing.
Yeah. Are you?
I've got the list up, so I can.
You've got the
prompt
list,
you.
so you can.
Yeah.
You
And
can
I've got
do
the
it.
predictions up. I've actually got the. Well, no, I closed it down. Actually, I'll reopen the diary.
I've got the diary. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to reopen it. I thought this is talking about doing our dirty laundry in public. I think I'll convert it to a Google Sheets instead of a Word
Oh
document.
my God, this sounds really dull. Yeah, go on then. Sorry,
'cause-
everyone. No one's
because
on
then
live,
we can-
thank God.
Because then we can actually edit it live, so I will see your edits as they happen. And there's none of this conflicted copy bollocks, so I'll probably just do that. I've lost the thing now. There it is, working.
There's
file.
2 people watching. I'm guessing that's me and you.
Yeah, probably. Hello, YouTube. Yes, I see you're in the diary. That's great. Fantastic.
I wonder where that guy found us the other day.
What guy?
Don't know. Someone was like, "Oh, whoever was like."
We do
random.
occasionally have some randomers
Yeah.
talking, don't we? Yeah.
Hello, randomers, whoever you are.
Hello, randomers. Yeah. Right.
Um,
Basically, the only reason we do these live streams is because I can't be asked to convert the video and then upload it to
Yeah.
YouTube, which is
It's
what I
purely
tried
a
to do
lazy
last
thing.
week on last week's episode. But in the end, it wouldn't convert properly, so I just didn't bother. So last week's episode did not go on YouTube. So sorry about that. But yeah, okay, let's start the title sequence. No, I haven't updated it.
2 cars in one corner, and the Brits are lighting up this sprint race. Is that clock going slowly? It is. That's gone. Oh God! Michael Schumacher hits David Coulthard and is out. George Russell is the Formula 2 champion. Oh! Hinchcliffe with a big one. Big one.
I was just thinking again there. Does anyone even know what Monkeyseat is? It's been such a long time since we had that initial thought of what we're going to call this podcast.
I'm sure most people do. Most people who are actually involved and understand anything about aerodynamics know what a monkey seat is, even though there is no monkey seats on the current current cars. They're actually illegal by the regulations in the current cars.
Oh, really?
You can't
So
have a monkey seat.
we can't even have a monkey seat.
Yeah, so I'm sure at some point we will also be banned.
Who's going to ban us, though? Who the fuck is going to ban us?
Well, YouTube might do. You never know.
What, for not getting enough views?
Yeah. God, that was a Dutch Grand Prix, wasn't it? It was actually a good Grand Prix.
Oh, we're talking about Grand Prix. Okay, fine.
If you want to talk about other stuff, we can talk about other stuff as well.
It was a Grand Prix. Unfortunately, you won on the predictions.
Did I?
Well, no, I won, but that's not the point.
Well, I think, to be honest, I would have got a full house had...
You didn't even get any full houses.
I've got here... Oh, no, hang on. Who was on pole? Was it Verstappen?
Yes.
Yes, of course, yeah. Sorry, for some reason I was thinking Leclerc.
And who won? Me. So, yeah, I've got 2 and you got 1. But,
but yeah, if things...
This is weird. We're going with predictions back.
Had things panned out the way that that they potentially should could have done. There's no should in that. Could have done. Basically, we were
hats are available on
one
the
engine blowout away from me getting 2 out of 3. But yeah, we'll discuss that when we get to predictions, and we'll have to predict for Monza as well. But yeah, so should we go straight into the backwards review? So you're going to be starting with
the backwards review. Is that what we're calling it now?
Well,
I suppose that really does sum it up.
Yeah, it's kind of like you know how it really confuses, because you know how when they started reviewing or started giving the grid backwards on the F1 program, and everyone got really confused by it.
Oh, really?
You see it, yeah, and because they start at the back and go forwards now, and the first couple of times they did it, Crofty would be like, and starting on the back row is, and it's like Lewis Hamilton. No, it's not like it'd be like Charles Leclerc is on pole, but we're not starting with him. We're starting at the back, and it's Nicholas Latifi in 20th.
Yeah, because it's also the FIA that or the whatever the rights hold Liberty that just make it.
Yeah, because it's their graphics, isn't it? And they just commentate.
As soon as you get that. Which I quite like now in the theme music. It used to always be Max Verstappen and his dad crashing.
Yeah.
There used to be the
it's
and now it's just Lando leaning against the wall and he just goes.
I've not noticed that. If I'm honest.
Have you not? It's Lando just like this, and it's just like you know that bit where it's only just.
Yeah, I know the bit.
Dun, 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 dun.
Right. Well, we had an exciting Grand Prix. We had 2 retirements, so we'll start by talking about those first. So, starting with the first retirement, Mr. Yuki Tsunoda car.
Yeah, we'll talk about this one later. I can't even be bothered to talk about it now. Right, go on. Literally, we need to talk about it later. There's so much. He did nothing until that point.
Just summarise his race in 10 seconds.
He did nothing up until the point where he did nothing. And then he did something, and then he did nothing apart from undo his belt. So, that sums it up pretty much.
Cool. Okay. Valtteri Bottas, once again. Did not see a lot from him. It was quicker than his teammate again.
Just went off, didn't he?
His engine went. It was definitely an engine failure.
He didn't crash or anything.
Had nothing to do with the fact that he has a Ferrari engine and it benefited Charles Leclerc. That's complete rubbish. But
tin hats are available in the Monkeyseat merch store. Please get your tin hats.
But yeah,
no, we don't have a merch store.
We don't. No, we don't. We have some merchandise which we made for ourselves, but we don't have anything for anyone else. Right, your favourite Canadian, Nick Latifi.
Why is he still there? Like, literally, why is he still there? Just went backward. I don't even know. There was a moment when he was having a battle. Who was he having a battle with? With Vettel or someone?
I don't recall this.
There was someone he was having Magnussen. He was having a battle with Magnussen at the back.
Yes.
He was having a little battle. But he always does that. Do you know what? He's actually all right in the battles. He just can't drive fast. That's his problem. He'd be better in, what would he be? Crash derbies or something.
Well, he started 20th and finished
18th. Yeah.
Yeah. Annoyingly, I did hear a weird stat about this. If there had been no retirements in this race and Latifi had been the first retirement, then I don't know how true this is, but apparently he would have finished bottom in every single session throughout the weekend, which no one has ever done before.
Wow.
Again, I don't have a citation because I can't remember who said that, but I did hear that, and I can't remember where I heard it from.
You with your big words, citation.
Well, yeah, I have to learn a lot of legal words at the moment for reasons why we're not going to discuss. But yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on from that, someone who did not move particularly swiftly, Daniel Ricciardo. Well, he's moving swiftly out the door.
Backwards and out the door.
Yeah. Although I'm sure we'll discuss later on where I think he should end up, as we were discussing on Grid Talk earlier.
Oh yeah, there we go. Danny Rick and Tsunoda.
just went completely backwards.
Right.
Where did he start? I can't remember where he qualified. I think he qualified 17th. Yeah, qualified 17th, and finished 17th with 2 retirements.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less said about that, the better. But at least we know where he's not going to be now. So that's something.
Yeah.
Guan Yu Zhou next for you.
I'm trying to think as to if he did anything. I don't think he did anything.
Well, I'm glad you got Zhou because I don't remember.
I haven't got a clue.
Well,
Like, this is the problem. This is the problem with, like, because we don't really see anything if they're not in any battles, and you get an occasional, and look at this overtake, and that's all that anyone really, and because almost there's so many overtakes now, or more, challenges, it's not as exciting as it was, that Zhou has overtaken
There was
Ricciardo.
a lot of focus on the front in this race, which I'm sure we'll get onto as we get further up. And what I found, like with the 2020 season, it was so kind of dull at the front that you got to see so much of the other battles, and it was really interesting.
Yeah,
but
also the battles weren't as close. It was, if someone was overtaking something, that was a big thing.
Yeah, but you couldn't really overtake in Zandvoort, not properly. I mean, you could, if you had a massive overspeed, then you could nail someone to turn 1 with DRS. But
yeah, it's one of my least favorite tracks. Definitely,
I enjoy watching them, like Portimao. I enjoy watching them race around it, but I think like Monaco, qualifying is a bigger spectacle than the race, and I really enjoy qualifying. And I did enjoy the race, but because of the uncertainty at the front. But it was one of those races where it was all about strategy, like a proper old school Formula One race.
Anyway, we can talk about this in a minute.
Yeah. But I'm just padding because I want us to at least talk about Zhou for more than a couple of seconds. But
well, you haven't been talking about Zhou. You've been talking about how the TV doesn't show anything, and we're back to the front.
It's misdirection. It's misdirection. I'm trying to make people think.
Fuck's sake, you're no magician, Tom.
Right. Kevin Magnussen, was he next? No, we already spoke. No, have we spoken about?
No, I haven't spoken about Kevin Magnussen. I spoke Kevin Magnussen because he was having a fight with safety.
Went off-roading, big hit.
Yeah, off you.
Massive
Is this
hit
you or me?
Me.
All right.
Big hit. Came off, hit the wall. You've got even numbers. Carried on, big scuff on his wheel. No damage, seemingly. But,
Laura's on with 3.
Yes, I just saw.
Car racing.
Yeah. 3 red cars. They still won't finish. Although they had 2 finishes this week. But
that's Leclerc, Ferrari, and Giovinazzi.
Maybe.
I'm thinking of the Ferraris.
More
who's in the Ferrari seats?
Sainz and Leclerc.
Yeah, Sainz, Leclerc, and who's in the third? Because
the reserve driver.
Yeah, it's Giovinazzi, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah, I think it is Giovinazzi. Yeah, who may well be back in F1 next year because there's just
we'll talk about that in a minute.
So little talent in F2.
Off the field already, or on the field already. Yeah.
Yeah, let's make a note of that to speak about that later. So Sebastian Vettel then, Carl.
Did he have a good race? Or did he have a good qualifying? No, he nearly made it. No,
he was 19th.
Yeah,
had a good qualifying.
Stroll had a good qualifying. Had a shit qualifying. So fair play on him getting to this point. But then
just needs to know what a blue flag is.
What's the blue flag?
Faster car approaching. Let them overtake you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, to be fair on him, he doesn't know what race he's in, and when you just see answer.
He was just dawdling on the line. He was like, do.
Don't mind me. I bet that was another conspiracy theory.
Just going down the shops.
Yeah. Yeah. That
very, very strange and very unlikely.
Sorry. That was in a they're in a Merc engine, aren't they? So yeah.
Yes,
Suspect.
Well, it's not a suspect because he completely wrecked Hamilton's lead. It's not suspect. It's incompetent. I think he got a 5-second penalty for it.
Did the camera even pick him up? Yes. Well, I think we did. Well, we definitely saw the door. Yeah, when he fecked Hamilton, Laura. So yeah, he definitely did get.
Mick Schumacher's next up, and he showed some steel this weekend. No points, but a good race because he had that multi-lap battle with Sebastian Vettel, and then he did finish ahead of him in the end.
Oh yeah. Well, that's like father and son always battling.
Yeah, it was good because he's shown that he's got something there.
Yeah.
And he at a time when he absolutely needs to be, because I'm not the biggest Kevin Magnussen fan. I think he's too aggressive. I don't think he's the greatest driver on the track. I think he deserves. I think he deserved more of a chance than he got. and I'm glad that he's back. But equally, he's just a measure of the minimum you need to be a Formula One driver. So if Mick Schumacher can't match Kevin Magnussen, then I don't think he should be in Formula One. So the fact that he's beating Kevin, he was certainly the better driver this weekend. That shows that he can do it, and if he can do it more frequently, then perhaps he might get another year. But I'm not convinced he will. But yeah,
Laura's convinced. She says she's safe. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. So who's next then? Alex, Alvin, your favourite guy. Off you go.
I quite like Alvin. A fair play on him. Like, got into Q3. Did he? Or no, didn't get into Q3. Got
That was
into
last week.
Q2. Quite high up in Q2.
Yeah, 15th. So he finished. He
Q2.
Yeah, he started 15th.
Yeah.
With no penalties or
And
anything.
ended up in where?
I've gone off that page.
What number are we on?
13, I think. Yeah, 12.
Okay, so he basically stayed in the same position, bearing in mind 2 people left.
Pretty much, yeah. But the fact that Al Bono, yeah, the fact that he didn't go backwards because that car is not a 12th place qualifier or a 14th place qualifier.
No, I think he's one to keep an eye on. I think he's a bit of a dark horse at the moment. I think he doesn't like pressure, and that's what Williams aren't giving him.
I still don't think he's I don't think he's on Norris and.
Oh, he's not on
level.
Norris level, but he's definitely on he's better than half the field.
I mean, literally, he was the third in line out of Norris, Russell, and himself in Formula 2. So he literally was the fourth
and
one.
I think that sums him up really. You know.
And who was the fourth one? Latifi? I think the fourth one, or was it Nick De Vries? I can't remember now.
You mean Mini Toto?
I know Nick De Vries won the following year, but then didn't get into anything.
Right. Anyway, move on.
Yeah. Who's next? Pierre Gasly, potentially future Alpine driver. Pierre Gasly.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
May eventually finally get out of the Red Bull program.
Hurrah!
I'm struggling to remember what Pierre Gasly did because I was playing F1 Manager and I signed Pierre Gasly in place of Nicholas Latifi. So to me, he's now a Williams driver. However, he
got out of the Red Bull program.
However, his replacement, Jack Doohan, ran into the back of him in his first race and took him out of the race.
Nice.
Oh dear. F1 Manager. I think we'll probably talk about that a bit later as well. Because I have some pros and cons.
Yes.
But yeah, I think certainly a little chat about that later as well. I'm up for that. Pierre Gasly didn't really see much of no points again. Didn't have the problems that his teammate had, which again we will talk about because that'll be the first thing we talk about after we finish the review because it's intrinsically linked with the result of the race, which is the first time that's ever happened to Yuki Tsunoda.
He's involved in the winner. Yeah,
actually, it affects the winner of the race. So Lance Stroll for yourself, then, Carl?
I mean, fair fucks. Absolutely fair fucks to him. How he ended up there, he doesn't even know.
He started there, so...
Yeah, which means he actually went backwards.
Well, no, he qualified in...
No, he didn't go backwards.
What was it? He was like 7th, 8th in Q2, and then he didn't get to do a run in Q3 because he had a problem with his car.
Yeah, so absolutely fair fucks. Like, the fact that he got into Q3, absolutely, well done. Can't say anything about him. Had a clean race. Didn't do anything stupid.
However, did you realise that the reason Vettel got eliminated in Q1 is because he lost it and went off track because he hit some dust that another car put on the racing line. That car was Lance Stroll.
Yeah, but fair fucks.
Wasn't intentional. No. But I just found it funny. It's like the whole terror thing from last week, destroying Charles Leclerc's race.
I know, shocking. Yeah, I know. It's a shock that he made Q3. Yeah, Laura. I know. We're all shocked that he made Q3. I think he's shocked. But there's always one. There always seems to be at the moment. There's always one wild card that makes Q3. Yeah. It's either Albon, Schumacher, someone.
Yeah. Well, literally half the grid are in Q3, so it's just nice to have different people in there.
Yeah.
So it's good. Okay, who's next up then? Esteban Ocon. Yeah, where did he qualify? I can't remember where he qualified now.
Sorry, this might be an Esteban Ocon was also in the race.
Yeah, potentially. Where did he start? 12th.
So he made up some place. Oh, yeah, he didn't get into Q3.
Yeah.
Neither did Alonso.
No, Alonso went out very early. But yeah, it was again a bit of a nothing race. He just kind of hung around. Alonso was the box office driver again this weekend, and I'm a bit worried about Esteban, to be honest. After such a great race in Spa, I think this weekend was quite poor in comparison.
I just think he was just like, it was typical Ocon this week. And that's the thing with Ocon. He shows moments, fleeting moments of brilliance. And then he just goes back into Ocon was also in the race.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso will be jumping out of a building whilst on fire with no parachute. And then Esteban Ocon will be like going down the escalator. You know,
or getting the lift down. You know, like, but to be fair, isn't that sort of what you want? You want a steady hand.
It is.
And you don't want to crazy fly-by-nights, you know. You want a steady hand, and that's what Ocon is. I mean, he's obviously safe at Renault, and I think Alvin,
he's got a contract, but then so did Ricciardo. But
I think he is safe. He's not. I don't feel that there to be questioning.
No, I don't
him,
think so either.
And he's French, and you know how the French love the French love the French.
Yeah, it took Renault a long time to not hire a French driver.
Yeah,
when they first came into Formula One. So who's up next then? Carlos Sainz.
What's he doing back there?
8th. Well, he didn't finish there. He had a 5-second penalty, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's why.
Put him back. So I think
sorry, we're not. Yeah, that's not.
He was ahead of Perez. He was 5th place.
He was 5th, which is sort of where he should be, maybe 4th, but 4th, 5th.
That Ferrari was the 3rd quickest car this weekend.
Yeah. So to be fair, he was in 5th. He got the penalty.
But then
what was the penalty for? The unsafe release. Yeah, we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Jesus, we've got quite a bit to talk about.
And the overtake of Ocon on the yellow flag.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But that one, I think we can probably cover that one off now. I think he did finish the overtake before. You saw from the onboard, he couldn't actually see the car until he'd committed to the overtake.
Yeah.
And then he slowed down because he saw the car in his eye line, which then allowed Ocon to move alongside him, and then he repassed Ocon into turn 1. But the pass had already been done. It was Ocon that overtook him, and then he retook him. And they were just jockeying for position. It wasn't by that point they had slowed down. It was still I don't think it was an overtake under yellow. I think it's unfortunate situation.
It was a bit like the old Norris yellow flag in some race.
I just don't. I'm really sorry. I've just moved my chair and kicked the desk and made a massive noise. But I don't see why we couldn't have had the yellow flag slightly earlier, like round the previous corner. I don't see why they have to go completely flat chat round the banking onto the start finish straight and then hit a yellow flag. Just put the yellow flag out earlier.
Yeah. So no, I do. I don't. I'm glad no penalty came from it.
Yeah, and I think for the first time ever on this podcast in 3-4 years of doing this, Laura agrees with me. That never happens.
There we go.
So who's next then? Lando Norris.
I mean, McLaren still have a problem. Let's not be around the bush. And do you know what was really funny? And Laura showed me a video yesterday from WTF1. And they were saying the exact same thing. Why is no one talking about McLaren's uselessness that I had? I said
the reason why I don't listen to WTF1.
Because it was exactly the same as what I said. It was exactly the same. Laura's like, I've been saying that. I was like, no, I've said that on the podcast. Go look, I didn't listen to last week's. I was like, oh yeah, we went live. But so yeah, I have been saying this fact that we're not talking about McLaren. That car is slightly underwhelming, if that's the right wording. And Norris is dragging that through. So yeah, fair fucks.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit annoyed that he was ahead of Alonso, and then somehow amongst all the madness, he ended up behind Alonso. It's probably in the pit stop phase. You probably
no one saw because we weren't watching.
Yeah, he probably got allowed. I imagine when they came in for the pits under VSC, he probably passed him in the pits because McLaren was held in the box because their garage is slightly further down the pit lane, so that means they'll both be stopping in the box at the same time, both being released at the same time. And then if the Alpine stop is slightly quicker than the McLaren one, then they'd have to hold Norris to allow Alonso to go past. Because it'd be unsafe.
Yeah, I think we should
otherwise.
talk about unsafe releases and releases anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll touch on that.
Especially in such a short pit as well.
Yeah, very, very tight, very tight pit lane. Fernando Alonso, P6, gaining from a last lap Ferrari 5-second penalty again. Last week it was Leclerc.
Who's this, sorry?
Last week it was Alonso moving ahead of Leclerc due to a last lap 5-second penalty. This week Carlos Sainz a last lap 5-second penalty, and he's well, I don't think it was actually the last lap, it was in the closing stages it was announced, but yeah, so he moves up to 6th place with.
I had no idea how he got there though.
Yeah, 8 points.
No idea how he got there.
Solid.
Not
I mean, I think on pace.
I swear, people must think we don't watch the race, but when you watch the race, but when you do, well done, Tom. But when you do watch the races, and you're absolutely right, Alonso is having a great season, but don't tell Bez.
You're right. He's only 7 points behind Ocon.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good point. That is a very valid point.
He's had a lot of bad luck, but anyway, he is having a good year.
I mean, we all know he's a good driver, and Alpine are stupid.
For a granddad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so is that us moving on now, is it?
Yeah.
Sergio Perez, for yourself.
Doing what Perez does best, which is just gets around.
Perfect number 2 driver.
Perfect number 2 driver. Like, he just, he's does exactly what he said on the tin.
Although, I would like to say, some people have been praising Perez online for his Mexican Minister of Defense and all that, for the way he held up Hamilton in the race. No, that was Vettel holding up Hamilton. Hamilton had the pass done and dusted, and then Vettel blocked him, which allowed Perez to move back alongside him and fight him again. It was nothing to do with Perez fighting back. It was just because Hamilton had got balked.
Yeah,
that's the only reason why he had another stab at it. So no, it was nothing. That was nothing to do with it. Perez, he was fine. He was a second.
I think he was second
off Verstappen's pace. All weekend.
But that's what he should be in some ways.
He should be closer than that. He should be at least within half a second of Max Verstappen. But a second and a half a lap back, what at various points in the weekend, consistently over a second behind Verstappen all weekend. He was just nowhere in the race. In the same car, he needs to be closer than that. And I just think he's not had a good weekend. That is the best car, and he's finished 5th.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why he shouldn't have benefited from all those safety cars and everything as well. He ended up, Hamilton was pulling away from him at the end, and he had better tyres than Hamilton. Hamilton was pulling away.
Yeah, that Merc. Anyway, we're talking about that in a bit.
Yeah, well, you can now if you want. Lewis Hamilton.
That Merc is why they put that Merc on mediums. I will never know.
The mediums, I think, was the right choice at that point in the race.
Like the hards were the best for that Merc.
Well, they started. They started on the mediums, then they went to the hards, but then when the VSC came out,
did they go on softs?
It was a perfect time to go onto mediums because the softs wouldn't have lasted and the hards would have been a waste. They didn't have another new set of hards. They did have it was a partially used set of mediums, but it had only been scrubbed.
That car liked the hards. I'm sorry, but it really liked the hards. I wouldn't have ever got them on mediums.
Well, they did a nice long stint on the mediums, but the trouble was, if they went to the hards, the hard is a very good tyre for a long stint. It wasn't a long stint. It was like 20 laps left of the race. Yeah. I don't think it was the right tyre. I think in the same as Abu Dhabi, Mercedes did absolutely everything right. If they did something wrong, then they probably would have won the race. But because they did everything right, circumstances took the race away from them. But I don't
Laura's just messaged saying we're going to talk about your new love for Merc. I've even bought a Merc.
Oh, first world problems. I've had to sell the Volvo
and buy a Merc.
And now, in solidarity, I am probably going to buy a Volvo. I had a Volvo on hire last week. It's gone back now, and now I'm looking at buying one. So,
I've bought a Merc. Yeah. So yes, I'm gonna have to get the Merc jacket, the Petronas jackets, and become a full-on
don't be
Merc
one
fan.
of those people that sits in a heap of an estate with your racing car jacket on. Don't be that person.
I've always wanted to be that person.
Don't be my wife's uncle.
I've always wanted to be that person.
So my uncle-in-law? Is he my uncle-in-law?
Yeah, uncle-in-law. Yeah.
Didn't know if that's a thing or not.
Yeah. What racing jacket does he have?
Jaguar.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, to be fair, I did sit in my Volvo in my Land Rover Barber. I've got a Land Rover Barber jacket.
Right.
Which is almost a racing, you know.
You've got a really nice, well, I don't know if you've got it anymore, but you had a really nice Arrows fleece, didn't you?
Yeah,
back in the day.
Gone. Don't know where
that was awesome.
Don't know what happened to that.
Proper, like, no, it wasn't Danker Arrows, was it? It was the Orange Arrows.
Yeah, it was Orange Arrows, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that.
There we go. He's going to get a keyring too.
But anyway,
Volvo keyring. I want a Volvo keyring.
Lewis Hamilton you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, got fucked. We'll talk about that in a bit. The strategy, I mean, I'm sorry, but he's a great driver.
Of course he is.
And this really does still prove back to the, you know, that what we harped on about last season is, it's just the car, it's not the driver. No, it's the driver. I take everything back that I said about him. No, it's definitely, he's a class driver. He should have won. He slightly got fecked over by numerous ways of that. It was a hard call for the strategists. They did nothing wrong. I think they could have done something better, but I haven't got to Russell yet, Laura.
No, I think she means Hamilton is getting angry with Russell.
Yeah.
I
would. If I was number one driver and this upstart came in and who's actually shit and came in third.
Don't talk about Russell now. Don't worry, you will be able to talk about Russell because you have him soon. Charles Leclerc had the quickest car in qualifying but didn't maximise it. Max Verstappen still managed to get pole, and that was a bit disappointing. Nowhere in the race. Red Bull just drove away from Ferrari, and then Ferrari's strategy was too rigid, set on this two-stop strategy, and it was never
the Ferrari strategy and tyres and wheel guns and everything else.
It was a bit because now I would defend them on the wheel gun issue because
we're talking about that.
with the wheel gun issue. There was no tyre there to go on, so that space would have been filled by a mechanic holding a tyre. The fact that he wasn't there made it look like this gun was just sitting in the middle of the road.
Which meant that Perez would have driven.
No, Perez couldn't have seen that. Wouldn't have seen that drill or that gun from where it was, or been able to see it close up anyway until he was basically on top of it. But we wouldn't have seen it at all. He would have only seen it from a distance. If there was a person there, he would have seen them because they'd be standing up in front of him, and he would have been able to drive around them. But because the wheel gun was there, he couldn't see it in his eye line, so he drove over it. But that would have been filled by a mechanic. It's a very, very tight pit lane. They had a briefing before the race saying it's a tight pit lane, leave extra margin in your pit stops or you will get penalties. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's fine. I think they got a talking to about it, which is fair enough. Yeah. Because it was out in the open, but that was a space allocated there for a mechanic who wasn't there because they didn't have the tyres ready because Ferrari.
Because Ferrari. I'm not like it's just because Ferrari. It's getting boring. It used to be because stewarding. Now it's because Ferrari.
And then he inherited the podium, which he didn't really deserve because of the circumstance of the safety car. Yeah. Go on then, George Russell.
But that was all Red Bull, wasn't it? And why would they give more points to Ferrari?
Oh no, Valtteri Bottas is an Alfa Romeo driver.
Oh yeah,
that's what caused the safety car.
Oh yeah. Sorry, where were we?
You're talking about George Russell now.
George Russell. Do I have to? I still don't think he's any good. I know he's where he is, but he's just like that was more luck than judgment of the strategy, and Toto and Mini Toto deciding that strategy is the only, or the team deciding. I just think he's just still a bell end, and he needs to go and fucking do one. Well done, you got second, but you didn't deserve that. You should have been third at the very max, and Hamilton should have been ahead of you. And it's circumstance that gave you that silver medal. as opposed to actual racing.
That kind of thing ebbs and flows throughout the season, which is what we've seen, like again throughout the season as well. There's been times when he's benefited from situations. There's been a few times when Hamilton has benefited over Russell, but there's been more occasions when it's been Russell's benefited over Hamilton. They've been very close all year, but I as I've maintained for most of the season, I think Hamilton is still just shading it. But I think he bossed the strategy for his own benefit, and it worked. But
no one's denying that.
I think on paper, Mercedes achieved the best result they could have done with the strategy that they went for because of the circumstances that panned out. I don't think they could have done anything different. Had they left Russell out, I think you're probably looking at a Verstappen-Leclerc 1-2 with Russell and Hamilton in third and fourth, but in the other order.
Yeah, Hamilton and Russell.
I think that's what you'd see there. You might have seen a bit more battle there, but you saw how quick Verstappen just drove around Hamilton.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a battle.
No.
And George, even if he had have held him off to the end of the straight, it would have been the start of the next lap. Verstappen would have breezed past him, and then 2 laps later, DRS. It's not even going to be a competition with Hamilton then, and he's still got 5 or 6 laps in his pocket to go and have a coffee and decide what to do.
I do love my wife. George is moany upstart who needs to be more of a team player. Yes, right. That sums that one up.
I think I did find it a bit odd that he constantly referred to himself as we and the team, and we did this and we decided this was the best strategy. No, you did that because you knew that with Hamilton going on, if you were on the softs, then you'd have a better chance of passing him. And fair play, you have to be selfish to win stuff in Formula 1. And he wants to prove that he's better than Lewis Hamilton.
That's the problem.
Of course he wants to do that.
But that's what he's... Yeah. If you want to prove that you're better than Lewis Hamilton, go in another car. Don't be a second in command and try.
Well, I think the only way to prove outright you're better than someone is to beat them in the same machinery. And if you know you're going to have... Which
he can't. Well, let's just say that. He can't. No, you can't. He can't. On a straight race, he can't. He is behind Hamilton every single time.
I do think every metric that George compares with Lewis, the only metric where he's ahead is the points.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton's now ahead in qualifying performance. Race results, they're pretty even. I think George just shaves him on race results. But because Hamilton had a couple of really bad races, that's why they're ahead. I've now referring to George as... Maybe George is referring to as we because he's not identifying as a
I'm not identifying as a race driver. I'm not identifying as a Mercedes race driver. Yeah. I am we.
Yeah, which is fair enough. But in murky waters here, Carl. Murky waters. Right, let's move on to the race winner before we end up losing people. Me, Max Verstappen. He is racing just on such a strong level. Whether it's Perez being awful or him being amazing, either way, whatever happens, it's impressive. The win today was slightly fortuitous, but I think that the result of the race hasn't been changed by the circumstances. I think all it's done is deprived us of a thrilling finale, and it's turned Max Verstappen to a incredibly hard-fought, impressive victory to a lucky, easy victory, which is a bit of a shame. Just hurry up.
I'm still going to try and sneeze.
I've been filling for as long as I can. Just sneeze, Carl. Just sneeze.
I can't sneeze. It was there.
I could tell. You had the face on that my cats do when they eat a fly that stings it.
It was there, and I was like, I'm going to sneeze. I put myself on mute, and then Tom... What distracted me was you suddenly turning into a robot going, so where he...
Oh, was I buffering? Like,
so, no, you weren't buffering. You were just talking, but looking at me pulling a funny face. And it sounded like you were just It sounded like you were buffering, but you weren't.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. It's just one of those ones, really. It was just a hard-fought victory that became an easy victory due to the circumstances. I do still think Verstappen would have won. I think he just had too much in the straight line. Yeah. It was just too easy for him to overtake.
Yeah.
Not for everyone else. When it was Hamilton chasing down him because of the VSC, I couldn't see it happening, but if he had to pass Hamilton, then I could see it being a lot more exciting.
Yeah.
But it was never going to happen, I don't think, in my opinion. So that's the race. Championship-wise, Max Verstappen now has 310 points. So he is 109 points ahead of Charles Leclerc in second with 201. Tied on points now with Sergio Perez. Now, with that car and the amount of bad luck that Leclerc has had, Perez should be well and away clear in second place, realistically. But hey-ho. George Russell just 13 points back of Sergio Perez now and Charles Leclerc. So he's 13 points off P2 in the championship. Very impressive there. Carlos Sainz should be well clear of George Russell, but he's not. 175 points. Lewis Hamilton in sixth with 158. 30 points back from Russell now due to what happened at the weekend. Lando Norris, lonely back there in seventh with 82 points, but Esteban Ocon is closing gradually. But I mean, Lando did pull away from him this weekend, to be fair. But Alonso is closing on Ocon, who is also closing on Norris, as he's the one who's getting those big results. He's in ninth place with 59 points. Valtteri Bottas 46 points. Seems to have forgotten what points are. Doesn't seem to be getting many anymore. Kevin Magnussen, flash in the pan start of the season, 22 points there. Sebastian Vettel, 20 points. Daniel Ricciardo, just on 19.
He's definitely forgot what points are.
Pierre Gasly, 18. Mick Schumacher, 12. That still seems like a lot of points for Mick Schumacher. That's okay, to be fair. That's only one big result away from Kevin Magnussen. Yeah. Tsunoda's got 11 points. Zhou Guanyu has got 5 points. Lance Stroll, 5 points as well. And then we've got Alex Albon on 4 with Nicholas Latifi now ahead of Nico Hulkenberg, or has been ahead of Nico Hulkenberg for a few weeks, but both still on 0. It's just a massive lead. It's just nothing there. It's not even a competition for Max now. He can not turn up to the next 4 races and still be in the lead of the championship. It's
mad, isn't
mental. So if we're looking at that race-wise,
what is the highest points any race has ever got?
As in what? As in a season, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, it'll probably be this season, to be honest, because the points system only changed like 10, 15 years ago, and Max is winning so frequently. Perez isn't even in competition. I'll check through some of the dominant Mercedes seasons in a minute, but we've got Monza coming up, and then we've got Singapore, Japan, USA, Mexico, Brazil, Abu Dhabi. He will have won it by Japan. Yeah. If we come out of Japan and he hasn't won the championship, I'll be surprised. I think he may even win it in Singapore, which is the race after Monza this weekend.
Unheard of.
He could win it in Singapore if Ferrari keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. That's 2016. That was a dominant year. What was the Drivers' Championship in 2016? Nico Rosberg 385 points, Lewis Hamilton 380. So
that's the thing. Like, that's the problem. No one is dominant.
Yeah. 2014, that went to the last race. 384 points for the eventual winner, Lewis Hamilton, but that was double points. 2015, 381, 363. 408 in 2018 to 320. And in 2019, 413 points to Bottas. 2020, 347, but that was a much shorter season. 395.5 and 310. Yeah, so Max is going to potentially eclipse the highest ever points total.
Yeah.
Certainly in recent history. Maybe 2013, actually. 397 in 2013 for Sebastian Vettel.
There we go.
So yes, that is. I think he may well hit 400.
Yeah, I don't think everyone there's ever been a series. I don't know.
Oh, it's a longer season as well. Remember,
season. That was the word. I don't think there's ever been a season where one person has won every single race, is there?
No.
So
no, the close we've had McLaren win all races, but one in one season, which is the race when Senna and Prost took each other out. And we've had people win in the 50s and 60s. Yeah. We've had people winning like 3 out of the 7 races and 4 and 5 and stuff. But yeah, I don't think we'll have to check that with Sean, but I'm pretty sure there's.
I'm asking loads of Sean questions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure no one has ever won every race, or no team I don't think has won every race in a season, because there was talk about it in 2014 when Mercedes were just so dominant. But I don't think any.
So no team has, and certainly no driver has.
Yeah, I'm certain no driver has. In fact, definitely no driver has ever won them all. So, yeah, talking points wise, then Yuki Tsunoda, conspiracy theory or just incompetent?
Right. Ted, I was listening to Ted.
I'm so sorry.
I quite like listening to
No,
Ted.
I love
I'm
Ted.
sorry. I love Ted's. Do you know what? I got upset last week because there was no Ted. There's no qualifying notebook or race notebook. I love Ted notebooks. And they're just half an hour of him meandering, talking bollocks half the time.
Yep.
Which he'll freely admit, I'm sure. But he was trying to explain what happened. So, how I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tsunoda comes into the pits, drives out the pits, says, there's a problem with my tire, the wheel's not on. Okay, we heard that on the radio.
Yeah. The
technical team worked out that there was nothing wrong with his tire.
Something wrong with the diff.
Hang on. No, there was nothing wrong with the tire at this point.
No.
Okay. Okay, so something wrong with the diff.
Yeah.
Okay, right, fine. So they
didn't know that at that point.
That's what I'm saying. At that point, they didn't know it was the diff, but the tire was definitely on.
Yeah.
So they then sent him round to the pits. He undid his belt because thinking he's getting out because his race is over. So in that period, he must have thought it was the diff, or something must have happened in that point for him to undo his belt. Okay, so then if he knew it was the diff at that point, why did they change the tires and send him back out? Because that makes no sense. If they thought it was the tires at that point, that makes sense. But then what doesn't make sense is that they told him to come all the way around with a loose tire, which is not correct. It's health and safety wise, it's unsafe.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I don't get their thinking at any point. I'm not conspiracy theorying this one, because I think it was incompetence in AlphaTauri rather than competence in Formula One and strategic, whatever bollocks that someone wants to come up with. And whoever is saying anything about Hannah Schmitz and the strategist of Red Bull needs to have their fecking heads examined.
Oh God, she was smiling, so therefore she had to have been involved. Right.
What the fuck? Fuck yourselves. Fuck off. Get off
see that
the
she was
Formula
on
One circuit.
laughing about it.
You fucking twat faces.
Also, I feel really sorry.
You misogynistic twats. That's what it is. Absolute alpha twats. They need to get. They're not twats because that would suggest they have female parts. No, they're giant cockwombles. They deserve Dick of the Week, Dick of the Year for saying anything. Females in this sport are important because I've got two daughters. I want them to look up to females in motorsport. I want them to get into motorsport, and I want them to be there. Not people bagging on them because they're doing well. Get over yourself. I'm so glad she was there. And yes, she smiled. Well, I would be smiling because it happened. It was fortuitous for us, but it wasn't planned, you fecking cretins. Anyway.
I completely agree that women in motorsport is massively important, and we need to see and celebrate those people. But equally, those people should be upheld to the same standards as everyone else. So it shouldn't be a case of there's a woman in charge, so therefore they cannot come under any criticism. Of course not. They need to be held to the same standards as everyone else. So if Hannah Schmidt was not doing a good job, I would expect her position to be under threat. Just
if she worked for Ferrari, she would be well beaten up.
Same as anyone else. But all I have to say as well was one person that I think would probably be a little bit annoyed at this. Ruth Buscombe from Alfa Romeo used to be at Ferrari in their strategy team. Left Ferrari strategy team, and since then they've been shit. And she doesn't get a mention. Alfa Romeo do pretty good strategies sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it Haas? No, I think it's Alfa Romeo she's at now. But yeah, she used to be like the one they'd wheel out every time they wanted to show that Formula One had diversity.
Yeah. But
they don't really wheel her out anymore. But that's a shame. But yeah, no, Yeah, so we were talking about.
Anyway, it
a
was
lot
to be honest.
a lot to unpack with Yuki Tsunoda. That's what I was going to get onto. So
Go on.
the way I saw it and the way I have come to understand it after, yes, it looked odd. It looked suspicious. There's no getting around that. Of course, it looked odd.
But what's the
Some of
suspicious bit? And that's what I can't work
Some
out.
of the strangest things in sporting history that were genuine look odd. You know, we see this kind of thing all the time. Think, well, how did that happen? But these things just happen. The way I understood it, Yuki Tsunoda came into the pits. Maybe this happened before or in the pit stop when it dropped off the jack or something, but something went wrong in the differential. Now, the differential involves the way the wheels turn in conjunction when you're going around corners. So Yuki Tsunoda pulls out of the pits, and then straight away he feels there's something wrong with the way that he's turning the wheel. And you can see when he's driving in a straight line, the wheel's at a funny angle. Yeah. So straight away you can see, yes, there's definitely something wrong, and it involves something between the steering wheel and the car turning, which, you know, would kind of point to it being, given that he's just come out of the pit box, that a wheel wasn't on correctly. Yeah. So he's radioed to the pit saying, wheel's not on. They then radio back saying, okay, stop the car. He pulls up onto the side of the track, stops the car, starts to undo his belts. At that point, that's when he starts to undo his belts, when he's at the side of the track. Then they say, nope, we've just run the numbers, everything looks fine, start the car back up, because you can restart the engines now, get back to the pits, we'll fit a new set of tyres, and obviously this is all paraphrased, but come back to the pits. So he comes back into the pits, they fit a new set of tyres just in case it was maybe an unbalanced wheel or something. But then
if it was an unbalanced wheel, he shouldn't have gone around the track.
No, as in like a wheel that had, like, you know, when you have weight
connected but unbalanced.
No, when you have weights on the inside of the wheel, like, and that would maybe causing a vibration. Something they don't know, because Yuki Tsunoda is not the most eloquent of people when it comes to telling you what's wrong with a car. He's just, everything's fucked. So
we're broken. We can't talk.
Yeah, so he's not really. Yeah, he is the Hulk of like delicacy. He's like, "Urgh." So I can see like that's going to
don't mention his height.
Yes. No, we're not talking about his height. That's not even relevant. So he comes back into the box. They change the tyres as a precaution, check everything else, retighten his belts because he is. Yeah. Let's be honest. He's undone them. It's a 7-point harness.
Which you can't do up. You cannot do up. You can't do them back up on your own.
No, but you can't undo them. You can only click them off.
Yeah.
Which means he was driving around with no seatbelts on.
Which makes that illegal as well.
Yeah, and that's massively dangerous driving. Now, they've said there's no way of proving whether you're driving with seatbelts on or not. They said the same thing with Leclerc in Spain.
Yes.
Now, I'm sorry, but pretty much every car since 2004, or even before that, have had a seatbelt alarm when you're driving without a seatbelt on. That's
Jesus,
not
I can't
new
even...
technology.
Weirdly,
why can't they just link that to the telemetry that goes back to the FIA?
Weirdly, my Volvo had a ghost person sitting in the back of the car today, because I had a bag on my back of the car and it was beeping. I took the bag off and it still carried on beeping that the seatbelt wasn't on. I
hope you told the person you sold your car to that it's haunted.
A haunted car. I'm sorry, don't say anything.
It's just like, that's not... The FIA know when a tyre is like underinflated. They know if a sensor...
Well, they knew the tyres were on.
Yeah, but they know so much stuff, and there's no reason why they can't have that little light that flashes up that goes bing bing when you're I've got a story to tell you about seatbelt things. I'll say it in a second, but this is gonna be quite irrelevant, but I'll tell it anyway. So I just don't understand why the FIA can't do that. Now, what I was just going to get onto, this is a complete tangent here. Last week, I was doing a show called American Idiot, which is the Green Day rock musical, which is one of my favourite shows. I've been really looking forward to doing this one. I was sound designing and set design, and basically the director's bitch. It literally had it written on the back of my t-shirt. So I was doing that show, and anyone who knows Green Day will probably understand what I'm getting at with this. But when I came to load up all of my equipment in the back of my hire car, this was the first time. Yeah, this is the first time that I'd driven this car, because I was just moving it from the car park to the side of the theatre. Yeah. It's the first time I've driven any distance in it whatsoever without a seatbelt on, because I always put a seatbelt on. So I just literally moved it. I was moving it about 10, 15 yards. So I started driving around to the side, and then the seatbelt alarm noise was going do 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 do, which is basically the start of Wake Me Up When September Ends. It was exactly the same key and everything. I was like, that's weird. Because we just finished the show. So that's a tangent. That's a really weird tangent. So I've gone off on one there. So yeah, that's how I understand the Yuki Tsunoda situation. I don't think it's any kind of conspiracy and anything like that. Because if they were going to do that,
why would they? What do they gain?
They would have, if they were going to do that, they'd have done it in 5 or 6 laps time when it was the perfect window to fit a pair of soft tyres on.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense anyway. Like, if it was a metalhead moment, they could have just made him park in the stupidest spot out on the track in the first place. Yeah,
well, the theory was that they told him to park it, and then he was like, "Oh, but the car isn't broken," then drove back and like, "No, Yuki, don't." No, that I think that's kind of what the theory was, that basically he's so bad at cheating he can't even cheat properly. If you're gonna cheat, you've got to cheat like Nelson Piquet Jr. did, and I'm not even going to say allegedly because it's proven. No. Singapore 2009, that is how you cheat. Yeah, because nobody would have been any wiser had they not sacked him.
No, it's almost so incompetent it can't be a cheat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
so I just don't think. I think the only thing that Tsunoda and AlphaTauri are lying about here is the fact that he unbuckled his seatbelts. I think he drove round to the pits without his seatbelts on, which is why he was driving so slowly.
I agree. Yeah. I want to go off on something else here.
Go for it.
Send me off on one. The fucking smoke grenades.
Oh well, yeah, the flares, yeah. But at least they were doing something about it.
Well done. I'm glad it's being sorted.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry. I mean, if I was a Max fan and I really wanted to set off a flare, I would do it after the race when they kick me out, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Why would you do it in qualifying, you numpties, and then throw it on the track?
And what? The thing is, the second one,
no matter how pissed you are, what
makes
you do that?
When they threw the second one, it was a few minutes from the end of the session, and Max wasn't on pole. If they'd have red flagged it, they wouldn't have restarted the session, and Max wouldn't have been on pole.
So, but then people. I mean, let's be honest. Also, tickets aren't fucking cheap. It's not something you take the boy. It's not like, without being rude, it's not like the football, which is slightly cheaper. I know it's expensive football, but it's not. You know,
depends where you go. If you go to see Cork City, it's not expensive.
Nothing wrong with Cork City.
I know. I used to have a Cork City t-shirt.
I remember that actually. That's a football match, but it's a really expensive thing. You're not going there to get and you go there because you do like motor racing. You don't go there because it's a lash up with your mates and let's throw a few flares around. Like, I don't even understand it. And like, and it, like, to be fair, if it was something like what's the rebellion people, Extinction Rebellion
yeah.
You know, have a fucking green one and throw it. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't fucking, and ironically the smoke would be hilarious, but you know, if you're trying to deliberately stop the race, don't go with a fucking Max orange. I don't understand it. Like, what is wrong with these people?
I'd say, like, well done, props to Zandvoort, because they had good crowd control. They were ready for it. And it's only places like Austria and in Belgium and where was the other place where we had issues? It was it's just really Austria.
Somewhere at the beginning, there was one quite early on where you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, that was Austria, I think. But either way, it's only places like there where they're not. I mean, it's only really been a problem this year. They've always been rowdy. I've never liked the flares, but they were particularly bad this year in Austria. You couldn't see the start of the race. I would have been livid if I'd have paid, you know, 600 quid for a ticket, sitting in the grandstand.
Also, like, you can't see the start and you can't see his victory lap. That would have really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't mind the fireworks that went off at the end, because Emily said to me, she said to me right at the end of the race, she's like, well, hang on. It's not okay to do fireworks, to do flares, but it is okay to do fireworks.
Flare lasts 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Fireworks is flashing the pan.
Bless her, I love my wife, and she's very, very knowledgeable about Formula One, but she was Sunday years old when she realised that the lap cars don't do every lap of the race. She was like, what about the cars that haven't finished? It's like, but they've all finished. It's like, no, only the winners are finished. What about the ones that are 2 laps down? It's like, no, hun. No. Bless her. No. But yeah, so she's very, very knowledgeable about Formula One. She's got so much better. She tells me stuff, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Laura does that. It's really annoying.
It's yeah, fucking women. They're such knowles, aren't they? But yeah, so she's really good at that. But she did not realise that the lap cars didn't finish the race distance.
I didn't realise for a long time.
Which just it does make me realise just how little she listens to me when I talk about other stuff, because she just zones out when I talk about motor racing, especially when I'm talking about playing games. And I was playing Gran Turismo, and I managed to I overtook this guy, or he was about to overtake me, but I crossed the line 2 seconds after the timer hit zero, or just before the timer hit zero, and he crossed it after it went zero. So instead of me losing the lead on the final lap, I ended up winning the race by allegedly lapping the entire field according to the timing sheets.
Nice.
But, yeah, just the way it pans out. But yeah, I explained all that to her, and then she just true story, bro.
Yeah, well done. That's interesting.
But anyway, moving away from that, the unsafe release. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, because the rest of the stuff is all about movement and people moving. So
yeah, So
an unsafe release.
It was an unsafe release. Just absolute slam dunk.
It was I don't know what was going on.
But they tried really hard. That was a really bad accent. It's more like Toto Wolff.
Yeah,
I tried really hard to avoid it. That definitely wasn't. I tried really hard. I saved someone's life, he said. He said, I saved someone's life and I get a 5-second penalty. I was like, what?
What?
Look, Carlos. Because he alleged that Ocon...
What?
He alleged that Ocon was in the pit lane and he sped up and then slammed on the brakes to make it look more dramatic. Well, I'm sorry. He would have then gone over this pit lane speed limiter.
Yeah.
Because there's no way would he have not been going at the limiter, going down the pit lane. Because why would you just volunteer losing time?
Yeah.
It's like, no, Carlos. I love you, but no.
I think that's, and, well, to be honest, it's not his fault. It's his team's fault as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Sainz is defending his team there, not defending.
He pulled out very slowly.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's very tight. But they were told before the race, put extra margin of error in there for this tight, narrow pit lane. So we will give you penalties.
So, am I right? F2 and F3 banned tyre changes during yellow flags and safety
cars, yeah. Because they didn't want everyone coming into the pits and queuing up. And because there wasn't room to queue up, you basically had to queue up in the next person's garage. So you couldn't double stack correctly. And plus F3 have a 30-car grid.
Okay. But so Formula 2 don't. They only have a 20-car grid.
24, I think.
24. Okay, so they've got a couple of extra cars.
Yeah, and also, Formula 2 are not as slick as Formula 1.
Yeah. There's not as many of them.
I'm going to double check the exact size of the grid. So
but the cars, without being rude, the cars are bigger as well. So why was that not implemented into Formula 1? And I think that should have been implemented into Formula 1 because that would have changed the strategy.
I think it would have.
That would have changed the result.
Bit of uproar.
But why? I don't understand why they're allowed to change tyres anyway.
I mean, I agree.
Safety car.
I think that under safety car is different. I think under VSC, I would be up for no pitting under VSC, but under safety car, I think is a little bit different.
Why do you say that? Why?
I just think it's
under VSC, you're all split on the track. You're not all coming in at once. While under safety car, you're in theory stacked up behind the car, and you're all coming in at once.
Yeah.
So, under VSC, mate, I don't mind. I'm the opposite. I'm completely opposite to you. I'd be like, well, keep the VSC ones because it saves a bit of time, but you're not saving huge amounts, and you're also, you are placed as you are in the VSC anyway, and the rate is neutralized or whatever the fuck they want to call it. But under safety car, you stack the cars up and they all fold it in. And especially the thing was that they drove through the pits.
I do think that you shouldn't be allowed to make a pit stop if the safety car is driving through the pit lane.
Which they did.
Yeah, because Max benefited from that, and so did George. Yeah. That's how George got ahead of. Didn't get ahead of. He lost track position, but he only lost one place because you only lose the stationary time because you don't lose the time going down the pit lane because everyone goes at the pit lane speed limit.
Yeah.
Or they say that as soon as you get to the pit entry line, everybody is on the pit lane speed limiter. You could do it that way, so that way nobody gains or loses.
Yeah. Because
you're all going the same speed. It's only the stationary time.
Yeah.
Which you can live with.
I just think it.
But
The pitting
saying
under
that,
safety
if you
car.
went to that rule, then literally everybody would stop under safety car because there'd be no point not doing it, and then you'd have a worse problem than what you started with. So
I think the best and the most obvious is that you're not unless for safety reasons you need to pit. Say you've got one wheel rolling off or whatever. You
I just
don't
don't.
pit under safety car or either safety car, VSC or normal.
I
But
think
then
you've
does
just
that
got
then
to. I think
screws
you've
the
just got
strategy
to.
over?
I think you've just got to trust that people can do the job.
Yeah, but it's a safety issue,
But these
especially
are
in
the best.
Zandvoort.
But they all have these hugely sophisticated procedures in place, and they practice and practice and practice. These are the best people in the world at performing pit stops. Formula 2, with all credit to them, they're only allowed one person per wheel. It's a very rudimentary pit stop compared to a Formula 1 one. And if you think back to Hungary last year, when everybody except Lewis Hamilton went into the pits, I think we may have had the odd one or two close shave in that, but we had 19 cars going into the pits and nobody ended up colliding with anyone.
Yeah.
So I think you can, and that's every team double stacking apart from Mercedes. So I think I don't feel like you have to police that in that sense. You just have to have very clear definitions of what you can and can't do and make sure they're kept to. Mm-hmm. And I think generally they're pretty good at that. It's only when there's an issue like Carlos Sainz trying to pull into a tight gap, it's touch and go, and then he doesn't get a good getaway, and as a result, the other car has to slam on the brakes.
Yeah.
But then there's still no contact.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a result, there's a 5-second penalty. So I think that's kind of self-policing. I think they've got it just about right at the moment. It used to be you get a drive-through penalty for an unsafe release, which was very harsh. You'd lose about 25 seconds by doing that, and it's very harsh. But I think they've got it just about right at the moment. So I don't think it's, at the end of the day, it's a sport that has a lot of random variables in it. You've got the weather, you've got all kinds of things happening around the track, you've got animals coming onto the track, sometimes humans.
Pigeons that don't give a flying hoot.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So
I
think
what is with those pigeons?
there's just you'll always have things.
Are they blind? Maybe they're blind.
The best moment for me, I can't remember if I was listening to F1 TV or Sky Sports at the time because I switched to F1 TV when there's adverts, and then I normally stay there because it's actually quite good. But somebody said, "Oh, how did you get rid of all the pigeons on turn 7?" And then somebody said, "Put a load of seed on turn 8." I thought that was quite funny.
That is quite funny.
Yeah. But then you have the same problem at turn 8. Yeah, put it on turn 9. Then.
Turn 9. Just move the problem along.
They were theorising that it was all the new grass seed they'd put down that they were eating.
All right.
Don't know how true that is.
Right in the middle of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe they were using
along.
it. Well, remember the tarmac is going to be.
What's this car? What's this about?
Sorry, the asphalt, not the tarmac. The asphalt would be warmer than the grass.
Right.
So maybe they were eating the seed at the side and then moved on to the asphalt because it was warmer. And it's like,
well, one was walking towards the grass, just meandering across the road in front of
going for a stroll. Just going for a wander.
More than Stroll actually does.
Yeah.
The pigeon was probably on track more than Stroll.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't say it this week, but yeah.
Yeah, he did have a decent race. Good
right.
Strong race.
Let's get out of the race. Let's get on into the boardrooms.
Yeah, so we know where Daniel Ricciardo isn't going to be next year, and I theorised on a chat earlier on the Grid Talk Slack chat with George Howson that I thought
I saw
Daniel
that.
Ricciardo,
I didn't read it all. Go on. What was the?
I thought Daniel Ricciardo should go to Williams, and he basically.
Actually, we suggested this last week because of the payout.
He basically accused me of being insane because he said that he was. He's washed up and an absolute donkey and would cost too much. But then I argued, well, McLaren would be paying most of his wages, so they could get him on a cut price deal. He's got to be better than Latifi or Giovinazzi or Sargent. And let's be honest, Sargent is not putting up trees in F2. Those people say, "Oh, he's second in the championship." He's not second in the championship. He's had 3 really bad weekends, two horrible weekends in a row. He's not picked up any points for ages. He's dropped in the standings. I don't even know where he is now, but he's not second. He's quite a way down. So I am going to check, but he's not pushing for the championship. Okay, so he's third in the championship, but he's over 100 points behind Drugovich.
Yeah.
Over 100 points. He's 9 points ahead of Jack Doohan, 11 ahead of Liam Lawson. So he's not exactly bossing it. He's had some really bad results recently, and thing is as well, a lot of them have been driver errors. It's not even circumstance. He is not ready for Formula One, and if you're going to stick someone in purely for marketing, then why not stick Jamie Chadwick in some series that's going to get her some super license points and stick her in the car. You know, that would be better, marketing wise, than sticking someone who's not ready for Formula One. But then again, Chadwick probably isn't ready for Formula One either. But either way,
you're going to have a bigger.
Yeah, it's just, for me, Sargent isn't the answer there. Nick De Vries was...
Especially as she is the reserve driver. Or
she's a development driver. And she hasn't got a super license anyway. But Nick De Vries has the super license points. He's a good driver.
Nick De Vries, did you see him? He was mini Toto.
Yeah, but
with the jacket around his shoulders exactly like Toto tied up. I was like, oh my God.
When he won Formula 2, he was best of a bad bunch.
I'm talking about fashion. Stop talking.
He was best of a bad bunch. He won the championship, but he wasn't really, he was okay. He came fourth behind Russell, Norris and Albin in 2018. I'm just checking that now.
Oh, yeah. Was he the fourth man?
He was the fourth one, behind them. And then he won it the following year. But guess who he beat to the championship?
Latifi?
Nicholas Latifi. And just to see what a great field we had that year, Luca Giotto was third, Sergio Setticamera of Formula E fame in fourth, Jack Aitken, Zhou was seventh, so Louis Delatraz, Anton Hubert, bless him, Mick Schumacher was 12th in that year.
That great year.
Yeah, that was his first year in F2. Nikita Mazepin was at the heights of 18th place with 11 points.
Do you remember him?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, remember Nikita Mazepin. But
I still look back fondly of him now. It doesn't feel like only half a year ago since he left.
It's not. He was the best of a bad bunch in Formula 2, and then he's won Formula E, which, let's be honest, it's a bit random. And Mercedes have proven over the last 3 years that they are a really slick operation. So it's going to have been either him or Van Dorn the last couple of years, to be honest. And there was a bit of luck around it in 2021, or the 2020-2021 season, and 21-22 season. Van Dorn was by far and away the better driver. I would have Van Dorn in that car before I'd have De Vries. He's a far better driver. But that's not going to happen. He's not involved in that way. Van Dorn's now left the Mercedes program altogether. So I don't think De Vries is the answer. So it's not Sargent. It's not De Vries. So what's the other option? Keep Nicholas Latifi?
Yeah, well, no.
That's not, for me, that ship has completely sailed. Now, Daniel Ricciardo, something is fundamentally wrong there. They could get him on a cut price deal. McLaren are basically paying all of his wages. Get him there for a year. Surely being in a Williams for a year is better than sitting on Bondi Beach with a surfboard for a year and then trying to come back when the last thing people remember from you is finishing 17th.
Yeah, because the only answer I've got to that is the Hulk and Hulkenberg. Took the year out and vanished. Do you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But then, hang on, saying that as a counter argument, Alex Albon took the year out.
But Alex Albon was still connected to Red Bull, and they had every intention of getting him back on the grid, and they were supporting him and pushing him.
Yeah.
Ricciardo has got nobody, and plus, Albon had his critics, but he also had his supporters. Mm-hmm. Daniel Ricciardo's stock is so low right now. I'm not sure any team would take a punt on him. If he were to then go to Williams for a year, reinvent himself, and match or beat Alex Albon, that I think that project at Williams is more exciting than the Haas project. I think there's more to that, and I think it makes perfect sense. So that's what I would be doing if I was Daniel Ricciardo. I'd be looking at that.
And you're also staying in the UK based house as well.
Yeah. So that would be my first. But that's what I think Williams should do. But they will probably put Nick De Vries in there for cheaper engines, and he'll do okay. He'll be another Guan Yu Zhou. I just there's been nothing from De Vries that's. I mean, there was nothing from Latifi that made me want to see him in F1, but and I was right with him. Yeah. Tsunoda, I was expecting a bit more because he was a bit more explosive, but he's not shown it at the moment. There just seems to be this lack of talent coming through F2, which is quite disappointing. and you look at all the Red Bull Junior drivers. I mean, just looking at the I was having this discussion as well with Grid Talk earlier. The junior drivers in the Red Bull program right now in F2, the best is Lawson in 5th. You've got Iwasa, I think, is Red Bull back in 6th, and then you've got Jayan Deruvala in 9th, Dennis Hauger in 12th.
Jesus. Scraping the bottom of the barrel there,
I'm sure there's another one in there as well. And then you've got loads in F3 as well. And it's just like you've got all these drivers, but they're looking to sign Colton Herta and put him straight into the AlphaTauri to allow Gasly to leave to go to Alpine.
Well, yeah. What's this about? Hang on. What's this about? Gasly.
So Gasly is
supposedly Red Bull aren't stopping him, but there is a rule change that needs to happen.
So, as it is at the moment, Red Bull have said they will allow Pierre Gasly to leave for Alpine if they can sign the replacement that they want. Now, that replacement they're looking at is Colton Herta, who currently does not have a super license and will not get a super license because he will not finish high enough in the IndyCar Championship to get the points to qualify for a super license. Now, you can criticize the super license system all you want, but it is there for a reason. And Colton Herta is definitely a talent, but he's 8th place in the IndyCar Championship right now, which is not good. But it is a very competitive championship, so you can kind of see why. But
why do they want to put Colton Herta in?
He's there because he's not performed as well against these other people. You know, Alex Rossi has had 3 really bad seasons in a row. This season's not been much better. He's 1 point behind Colton Herta.
But why do they want Colton Herta?
Because he's American and he's
why
exciting.
Why do Red Bull want an American in?
Because obviously they don't sell enough Red Bull in America.
Is that it?
Probably.
Is that literally it? Like, because you thought the Red Bull would want to go with someone that's German or Austrian or Thai or, you know.
Yeah, but I guess they're trying to get into other markets as well. They've not had an American driver since Scott Speed. Would have been the last, which is such an American name, isn't it? Scott Speed.
But are you going to sell more Red Bull in a fashion brand?
Yeah, maybe it's the fashion brand. But Colton Herta is a very likable kid. You know, Brian Herta has links with Formula One. He did test a Minardi back in the day. Never actually made it to Formula One. Colton's made it very clear that he does want to be in F1. He's young enough to do it. He's probably the only one in F1 right now that could probably cut it. Maybe Alex Palou could. Maybe Pato Ward could. But I think Colton's probably the best of that bunch, I would say. Do you know who's winning IndyCar right now?
Oh, please don't say it's my man.
It's Will Power.
Will Power.
He's 20 points clear of Joseph Newgarden.
Yeah, boy, Will Power.
But you do get 1,000 points for like qualifying on pole in IndyCar. He's got 523 points. He's 20 points ahead of Joseph Newgarden. Scott Dixon 3rd on the same points. Nice. And then Marcus Ericsson in 4th because he won. Well, partially because he won the Indy 500. So.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that's double points.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I've not actually watched this year's race, this week's race.
Right in the game musical chairs. Let's go. So McLaren. Let's quickly go through the team. McLaren now has
Norris and Piastri. That's
Norris
confirmed.
and Piastri. That's confirmed. Yeah. So Ricciardo leaves, possibly goes to Williams.
I hope, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Leaving Latifi gone. Latifi just goes into IndyCar, Formula E, somewhere away from
somewhere that has a big, needs a paycheck.
Yeah, and needs some coffee. Cheap ass, horrid coffee at that. So Mercedes, that just stays as is. There's no change there. Red Bull stays as is. So Alpine. Now Alpine have a spare seat.
Yep. And we're trying to use Gasly to fill that.
Gasly to try and fill that so they have an all-French team. Yep. If Gasly isn't released because Colton Herta is not released, able to get a super license,
then I guess they're back in the do we take a risk on Daniel Ricciardo?
Jesus. That's
Or the other option there that was touted was Mick Schumacher, which I really hope.
Mick Schumacher. You're right.
I think he wants to get out of Haas. He's trying to manoeuvre himself further up the grid, but I don't think he's got the talent to do that.
No, he's got a name, not a talent. Okay, so that's
David Schumacher. No.
Ralph.
Yeah, I'm sure he's still got a super license. Nico Rosberg.
If he's allowed in the pits. So hang on, my brain's trying to work. So there's a seat in Alpine that could be filled by Gasly, which then means Colton Herta comes into AlphaTauri.
Yep.
But if that doesn't happen, that means there's possibly Ricciardo could go in there, Schumacher can go in there, which means if Ricciardo doesn't go in there, he's back to Williams again or Haas, and Mick Schumacher moves into the AlphaTauri.
Or maybe Jack Doohan gets. No, he's not going to get a super license.
I think there's a bit more movement as opposed to adding new people. I don't think there'll be any more new rookies.
No, I think potentially Colton Herta would probably be the only rookie. I mean, there's a possibility Drogovic might get he might be in line for that Haas drive, but I don't think so because again, it's his third year in F2.
Because if Mick Schumacher does leave,
he's done really well, but
if Mick Schumacher does leave, I don't think Ricciardo's going to go in there. So who would go into that seat?
I mean, I would quite like to see him in a Haas, but I just don't think he will. I don't even want to see him in a Haas.
So would Giovinazzi go into the Haas seat?
Giovinazzi has been linked with that seat, yes, which I just think is a massive step back, and it just shows the lack of clear talent.
Ferrari, Alfa, Haas. Yeah, well done. You've gone through all the Ferrari engines.
Yeah, it's just for me, it's just showing just a complete lack of.
And then Alfa Romeo, which might not be Alfa Romeo next year.
Yeah, well, next year it will be.
Oh no,
it's the year after it won't be, and that's been confirmed now. Yeah, that's Bottas and probably Zhou.
Staying as Zhou.
Not been confirmed, but sorry, I'm just yawning away. Not been confirmed, but I would say it's likely.
Okay. Aston Martin now has Alonso and Stroll. Such a weird mix of people.
Yeah.
And that's full house, is it? Of unknowns and
who haven't we spoken about?
McLaren.
We've spoken about McLaren. There's got to be some. Aston Martin we've spoken about. Alfa Romeo we spoke. Yeah, I think that's everyone.
Yeah, that's everyone.
Yeah. So
musical chairs. There's a lot of musical chairs to happen. I thought it would have all landed already.
Yeah, but no.
I think what's going to happen is we're not going to know until after Imola because they'll have the 2-week gap.
Imola.
Monza. We'll have the 2-week gap. What's after Monza?
We've got 3-week gap and then Singapore.
That's where it's all going to kick off.
Potentially, that's where a lot of business does get done. Singapore.
Yeah. We'll be landing in Singapore, and we'll have a lot more.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to the predictions then? Well, I know we briefly touched them anyway. So I said Leclerc on pole. It was Verstappen. I said win for Hamilton. Very close. And I said my hot take was it was not going to be boring. So I'm going to take that as a point for me.
Yeah.
I
was so close to all three.
Yeah. Yeah.
So close to all three.
Well, if there'd have been a red flag and
I was so close to a red flag. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I don't think you were close to a red flag personally, but either way. Right. So predictions for Monza. So we've got pole.
You're actually typing out. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll take. Right. What do we reckon? Pole for Monza. It's gonna be Max Verstappen, isn't it? I can't see anyone but Verstappen getting pole in Monza. It's very high speed. It does have. I know Sebastian Vettel famously set the fastest time there when he had the highest downforce setting and the slowest speed drive setting. But I just think now with the way the aero works, I think it's a Red Bull track all day long. I'd love to say Ferrari just for the Tifosi, but. Just because I know they wouldn't actually win the race, but it's got to be Verstappen for me.
Because Ferrari.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear about their their bus or their lorry?
No.
So their lorry transferring from where were we? From Zandvoort to.
Oh yeah, I did. I put it up.
Italy. Yes, he did. Yeah, yeah. It just broke down with brake failure and the brake set on fire.
Oh, they literally can't catch a break.
Yeah. Right. Who are you going for pole then?
Hamilton.
Hamilton. Okay.
Hamilton.
Fine. Win. Who is going to win?
Leclerc.
I mean, I'm going to go for. Do you know what I'm going to do? I am not going to predict Verstappen for the rest of the season. In the vain hope that somebody else will win a race. Not going to be Verstappen. So who is it going to be if it's not going to be Verstappen? So you're going for Leclerc. I just don't feel like Ferrari can do it. Perez is just so far off. So I can't just keep picking. Do you know what? I'm going to say George Russell. George Russell's going to win the race.
God, can you imagine me next week if that happens?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I presume Hamilton crashes off because otherwise Hamilton will be ahead of him.
Yeah. Oh dear. I remember that Grid Talk episode where they were saying, "Oh, well, I presume you're not going to pick Russell for the podium." And he goes, "No, I am going to pick Russell for the podium. He's going to be third behind Norris and Hamilton."
Did that make
funny.
you chuckle?
Yeah, I did. I was like, you're the only person who can praise and insult George Russell in the same sentence."
Yep, it's my master power.
Hot take. What's going to be a hot take in Monza? All remaining seats are all but decided.
No, we just said that. That's at Singapore.
Well, in that case, I'll be wrong.
You will be wrong. What a
All
pointless...
but decided. So basically, just waiting on ratification. And like,
okay,
that's
I'm not.
happening.
Yeah, the rumors become strong rumors, and that's what we think is going to happen.
That's why. And there'll be at least one. There will be at least one confirmed.
I think yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think at least 2 new confirmed seats by next week.
Okay, same but 2. Okay, the return of Antonio Giovinazzi. I can see it in the stars. Oh, it's going to be hell. I actually like
the prancing horses. At least
the first 7 or 8 races of this season, I actually liked Alfa Romeo. I've kind of gone off them a bit now, but
they're not doing anything wrong.
No, but they're just back to alpha obscurity again, which is a bit annoying. But there we go. Right, should we say goodnight for this one then, and then we'll see you guys next week after Monza? Sound good?
So we're not going to talk about the Formula 1 manager game then?
Oh, we'll leave it for another time. It's late now.
Right.
See you later.
You come back for our gaming one.
This is where I would press stop, but I haven't actually pressed record. So, ripping from the live stream.
Nice!
Yeah!